Hello, hello, hello. So the three topics for today are going to be, Iran versus Israel, Trump's response, and what happens next. So you'll notice nobody's talking about the California No Kings protest anymore at all. There is a small part of me that wonders if this entire war is set up just to distract us from those protests, that whole situation. Like, I don't think they would do that, but I can see it. Right? I can imagine it anyway. If I can imagine it, they have probably too. But no, I don't think I think this is a real war. Started by Israel. So basically, let's give the recap of what's happened so far. I started with the history. Basically, Iran's been basically poking at Israel for the past 30 years via different terrorist organizations. Poke, 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 poke. Israel finally, it might be a nuclear thing based on the development of a nuclear bomb in Iran, but more likely Israel saw an opportunity where Russia and Pakistan, all of Iran's allies in the region, are all either destroyed or otherwise occupied. And so they decided to take their shot, which, oh no, that's terrible. But I mean, Iran's been taking its shots for a long time. That said, and that's so I am very pro Israel. That's probably true, but I do not want us to be involved. Um, it's just not our war. I don't care that Iran doesn't like us. Why should I care? Whatever. Um, that said, basically the summary of what's happened so far is that Iran's getting the ever living crap kicked out of it. That seems to be the scenario. They've lost like tons of their leadership, and what do they kill? Like some civilians? Like very sad, yes, but like from a military standpoint, if one side is killing generals, all the generals of the other side, and the other side is like randomly killing a few non-combatants, yeah, the people killing the civilians, killing the generals are winning by a lot. Um, they can't do anything back. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like, is there any famous or leadership role Israeli who's been killed? No, no. Israel has fantastic bomb shelters, has the missile defense thing, which while it hasn't worked perfectly, has worked pretty damn well. It's probably a prioritization thing too, where it's like it's probably knocking out the missiles that would do the most damage and missing the ones that do the least damage. Iran's running out of missiles. Like, Iran is in a situation where they do not want to surrender and do a deal with Trump, but the alternative is looking to be worse. So they can either make a deal with Trump and look like they're capitulating to Trump, or they can be get the crap kicked out of them by Israel, and make it look like they're losing to Israel. Would you rather lose to Trump or lose to Israel if you're an Iranian Shia extremist? From my perspective, you'd probably rather be beat up by Trump because then at least you have a lot of company. Oh no, you got beat up by Trump. Okay, so is everybody else. It's like you kind of have good company. Do you really want to keep getting beat by a country that's a fifth your size or smaller, Israel? Plus, not to mention all the local divisions. Like you send it to Trump, you at least look like okay, yeah, we're doing the responsible thing, even though we don't want to. So yeah, Iran has to be looking for a deal. The question is whether Israel is willing to take it. Um, and the honest answer is probably no. They don't want to take it just because right now they're winning. Why would you want to stop winning? It's the same thing in Ukraine and Russia. Whenever one side's winning, they're not the one who's going to want to quit fighting. Um, why not just keep hammering Iran until they're not a power anymore, until their regime crumbles? Like, I get it. So it's going to be actually an interesting situation where Trump might have to end up pressuring Israel for peace. I don't know if he has to, but I think he might have to do that. And what do you do? Well, you just cut off military shipments or threaten to anyway. And honestly, if Iran were to deal with the United States, we could be allies. I don't think Trump really cares if Israel is now Iran's an ally or not. Just because, just like I don't really care if he thinks, I don't really think he cares if Israel is an ally or not. He's realpolitik all the way, baby. That's what he is. So Trump's so that's what's happening. That's the situation there. Now, what's really interesting is the woke, the so-called. I hate the term. I really hate the term. The so-called wokeite um, was doing really, really, really well. No, yeah, was doing really, really well among conservatives. They were basically trounced the non-woke right, the pop. I don't know. I want to say the Jewish right. I really do, but I know that sounds terrible. But it describes it pretty well because the biggest the distinction between the woke right and the non-woke right is the Jewish question. That is the question that separates the two sides more than anything else. And again, I'm in the pro Jewish camp, so it's kind of an awkward thing for me to say that. But it's like the woke right versus the Jewish right. It's basically what the question is. I really hate that that's the term that describes it the best. But what am I going to say? Center right? That sounds like a bunch of voices. Ben Shapiro right? That sounds kind of the same. Anyway, the book bite was doing really well. Tucker Carlson and these people, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, Ken Stone's that group. They're self-immolating right now. With this thing, they're saying, "Oh, Trump is a traitor," and it's like, no, he hasn't. That's a stupid take. Because because you hate Israel so much, it's like I get if you have a nuanced opinion on the Gaza thing, or whatever. That's fair. But if you're like just against Israel versus Iran, well, if you sided with Iran over Israel, you're kind of letting your anti-Semitism get in the way of your thinking, bro. That's what I would say. Now, Trump has actually been surprisingly consistent on this. He says, "Oh yeah, Iran want to be friends, can't have a nuke." He's been saying that for like 10 years. He's been saying it for a really, really long time. Um, and he's like, well, if Israel takes you out, fine. I don't see Trump putting troops on the ground. He doesn't need to. You don't need to put troops on the ground. Why do you need to? We have military. You have an ally in the region that you've been supporting for 70 years, willing to kick the crap out of your guy. Why do you need troops on the ground? It's like, oh well, they could keep fighting. It's like they're not. And it's not like it's an invasion situation where Iran's like straight up invading their neighboring countries. They're not. They've been very indirect. Like, you don't need troops on the ground to take out Iran. They already have like 80% disapproval of the government, probably lower, but of the government, it's like they're already falling apart. They have water issues, they have money issues, they have all kinds of problems. Just let them fall. And then they're like, oh, but we're supplying weapons. It's like, yeah, they have those weapons because we've been supporting Israel with weapons for 70 years. No shit, they have weapons that are ours. We also, every other country on the planet also has our weapons. America sells weapons. That's what we do, which we're pretty damn good at it too. No, I mean, not like the fact that that's our one of our exports, but it is, and they already have the weapons. Why shouldn't our ally use it against somebody who legitimately is trying to get a nuke to to start all kinds of problems? And frankly, has been a thorn in the whole region's side for about 30, 40 years. What are we supposed to say? Israel, don't, I mean, don't attack the enemy who wants to kill you. I mean, what do we benefit by telling them that? I just don't see what the opposite side is. Unless you want to side with Iran, I think. But Trump is like, hey, I want to make a deal. I still want to make a deal. That's actually a pretty moderate take on this, saying, yeah, if you want to fight, have fun with Israel. Or if you don't want to fight because Israel's kicking your butt, we can be friends. I don't understand what another alternative is. And people are like, oh, we shouldn't be moving troops in the region. It's like, well, if you want the pressure, deal or you die. It's like, if you want the deal, that's the smart way to do it. And they're like, oh, we should be. I think there's some kind of erroneous sense of fairness among people where they're like, oh, they should be able to fight it out on their own. It's like, well, if one side wins against the other side by a lot, that's actually a shorter war. If it's a stalemate, you see that in Russia and Ukraine. It goes on. It goes on and on and on and on. If one side just wins, you'll end up with less destruction overall. You just do. So yeah, just some of my opinion. I do not want us to be troops on the ground. But if Israel wants to fight against an enemy that's trying to get a nuke and nuke them off the map, and also the thing is that Iran, nobody likes Iran right now. Iran, the Arabs don't like him. The Turks don't like Turkey. Is like new lukewarm. Pakistan is in ruins. But Russia is occupied by the war in Ukraine. Iran's pissed everybody off. Now what happens next is like, what do you want to actually happen to Iran? There is a possibility it could split up into different regions. Iran has a lot of different minority groups and different values and stuff. It could be a problem, which is why I think Trump actually doesn't want the regime to be deposed because that could be worse. But forcing them into making a deal, that sounds fair. And yeah, so Obama had a deal. Obama had a deal. This would be a deal. There's a difference between having a deal with somebody when they think you're equals and you're sending them pallets full of cash, and having a deal because the alternatives I'm going to being wiped off the playing field. There's a difference. Anyway, what's the third thing I want to talk about? Yeah, I want to talk about the woke fight. Some of the takes on the really, really bad. I do not understand the woke fight when woke fight is the anti-Semitic fight. His opinion on Israel, on Judaism and everything. I do not get it. It's like, oh yeah, they're always behind everything. Yeah, because Jewish people are smart. Yeah, they tend to be at the top of organizations because they're good at arguing. Because their entire culture is based around arguing over Old Testament stuff. Like they're raised to argue, and being raised to argue tends to lead to more successful people who are annoying, like me. Yeah. So it's like they're top both sides. It's like, what are you really expecting them to do? It's like, come on, guys, stop. And who are you siding with? You're siding with like Iran and Gaza? Like, what? Why? Now, some people I get. It's like I get like Tucker Carlson is super like against the war. He basically has like a kind of political PTSD, but he was pro Iraq war, and then he saw what the Iraq war actually became, and then he went completely the opposite way against war. He has a personal beef with anybody who's any kind of sending any kind of missiles anywhere. I respect that. Tucker Carlson, you get a pass. You're crazy, but you get a pass. But other people like Candace Owen or Dave Smith or whatever, they're like such fair weather fans, and they're like, "Oh, we're against Trump now." I'm like, "Why? He's presenting the only real option." Like, I think that Bill Clinton would have made this promise if he was in this situation. Bill Clinton was in this bitch situation as Trump, and he saw the two sides going at it. This is what he would do. He would offer a deal and say, "Okay, you can fight and get your butt kicked, or you can make a deal." That's the obvious thing to say. Now, like, and I don't think we're gonna be sending troops in. That's not Trump's style. Trump's not gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna spread democracy in the Middle East." No, Trump is nowhere near that ideological blinded. He's what Trump's gonna do if he is in a situation where we actually like end up. He's just gonna bomb. That's what he's gonna do. He's gonna be a dick about it. He's gonna be sniping from the sidelines. If he's gonna have every bomb accompanied with a, we could make a deal speech. That's what he's gonna do every single time. Because that's how he operates. So, and there's nobody coming to help Iran. That's the thing, is that they've painted themselves into such a corner that they don't have any options. I think they honestly thought that Israel wouldn't have the guts to do this. Turns out they do. Don't piss off Israel. That's a pretty good rule of thumb for real politics. And everybody in the region knows that too. Everybody in the region is looking at this and being like, I don't really want this to happen to me. Like Saudi Arabia is right there being like, yeah, he's with us. He's with us. We're we're cool. We're friends. Yeah. Go after them. Sure. Yeah, they don't want that to happen to them. And they're a lot closer. So in Turkey, Turkey might want to get involved if they really wanted to, but it's the same thing. It's like, what is the cost benefit analysis of fighting against Israel right now? Very little benefit, a lot of con. Um, the real question moving forward, though, is if Iran does basically bend the knee to Trump, can Trump make Israel back down? And that is going to be the next question that happens. I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. Should be interesting. All right, cheers.